Okay, let's bring you back up to speed on another big story. The allegations of sexual misconduct against comedian Louis C.K. Now, here on the program, we've talked about how those claims come from 5 women, published in the New York Times today. Some of those women say he masturbated in front of them. Now, at this hour, we're still waiting for Louis C.K. to respond, but there have already been major consequences. HBO put out a statement saying he's no longer going to be part of their comedy benefit set for next week. They're also pulling all of Louis C.K.'s content from their on-demand services. Now, to be clear, these are allegations at this point, but that suddenly the comedy world has found itself the focus of all of this comes as no surprise to our next guest, Rebecca Kohler, joining us right now. She's a comedian, 17 years in the business, joining us right now out of Los Angeles. And Rebecca, you weren't surprised. Can you tell us why?
No, I wasn't surprised. Number one, just in terms of the fact that in the comedy community, rumors about Louis C.K. have been running around for, at least 5 years ago, I probably heard the first rumor. So as a comedian who heard the rumors, I was not surprised. But I also just wasn't surprised as a woman who's been in the comedy industry for 17 years, experienced my own forms of harassment, and just a woman who lives in the world. Anyone who finds this really surprising, I feel like they might be a bit of an ostrich.
And can you just help me understand? I mean, what is the kind of sexual harassment that you would see in the comedy world or at a comedy club that you might not necessarily see elsewhere or in other industries?
Well, the comedy climate is kind of an odd one in that, think about it. You're in a comedy club 90% of the time that you're working. A comedy club is essentially a bar. People are drinking. You're having fun. And also, you're all comedians. And so if somebody does something that would be inappropriate in an office setting, the rules are looser and there's more of a gray area. But like things that I've witnessed personally just in a comedy club are things like dry humping, lewd sexual gestures that would get you fired from any office job. And also just things that have been said to me, like I remember asking a comedian for a ride to a gig once, which is standard practice in the comedy world. And he responded by saying maybe I could offer him a blowjob to make giving me the ride worth it. Which again, I think in any other, go to HR at any office, that'll get you fired.
And so, what are those comedians telling you then after the fact? I mean, that it was all just a joke? They just expect you to have a thicker skin?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. Most of the time, I didn't really question it because this is part of the culture, and this is probably why Louis C.K. a lot of the allegations in the article are pretty old because this has been going on since the beginning of time / the beginning of comedy, and most of these women didn't want to come forward because it goes against the culture. If I had come forward and complained about these people, people would say, oh, who wants to work with her? She's a buzzkill.
Rebecca Kohler, very nice to hear your points of view on this. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for talking about this.